Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 3 of the Monday Q&As. So let's get to those questions. First question. Well, we knew this is going to happen. More questions about the recomposition videos. Regarding your recomposition videos, would it be at all effective to have moderate to high fat with high but not ultra high carbs on the refeed days to hit the surplus? You clearly didn't listen to what I said, and I know for a fact you didn't go read any of Lyle's books on this. No, you'll get fat doing that. When you are doing a refeed and you have now manipulated your body to the point where you're glycogen depleted, your traditional calories in, calories out get massively skewed. Your calorie values change dramatically and the way that your body processes this stuff. This is a metabolic trick to let you eat a shitload of carbs while gaining no fat and possibly even losing a little body fat that day in some rare situations. What you're suggesting, because you're eating a large surplus, you're not eating enough carbs to super compensate glycogen stores. You're just going to burn off the carbs for fuel. When you eat a fair amount of carbs, you burn carbs for fuel and you store the fat that you eat. If you eat almost no fat on that day, you gain no fat because de novo lipogenesis cannot occur biologically. If you have actually structured yourself to where you're depleted enough to need a refeed and you way overfeed carbs, none of those carbs can store as body fat, none of them. You will only store them as glycogen or burn them off as heat or burn them as fuel. So what you're suggesting, you then go do a big surplus with a bunch of fat when you're glycogen depleted. Well, your body's just going to store the bit of carbs you eat as glycogen. It's going to burn through the rest as fuel. And you're going to store all the surplus fat you eat in your fat cells. So you're going to gain fat. Now you're trying to recomposition, and you're going to have a day every week to where you gain a couple ounces of body fat. Now, how is this going to help you? And in fact, you're not even going to get the full anabolic effect of the glycogen supercompensation, so you're going to gain less muscle than you should on that refeed day, so you ruined your recomposition from the muscle gain, and then you're going to gain fat, so you're going to ruin it from the fat gain perspective. You're the person who is going to screw up a recomposition, and it's not going to work. You're going to fail, you're not going to gain muscle, and you're not going to lose fat trying to use this type of method. This is not how a recomp works. Recomps are very tricky, they're very annoying, and they're not for everybody because they take a lot of work. They require more exacting work and more patience on your part than bulking or cutting or combining bulks and cuts. So you start doing stuff like this, you're going to screw it up, and you're going to be one of those 90% of people, which it is true, 9 out of 10 people screw up their recomps and they don't work. You're going to be one of those people trying to do stuff like this and change stuff knowing that you've been told it's not going to work and to do something differently, and the reason why you have to do it the way I explained. All right, next question. You mentioned reverse pyramid training not too long ago. Is there any difference, be it in performance or results, between reverse pyramid sets and just regular pyramid sets? Thank you. Well, just like any other thing, as far as these things go, they all have their uses. But the thing is, once you're out of the novice phase and you can no longer make a linear progression, or even the early intermediate phase where there are linear-based programs like Mad Cows, no program is going to give you indefinite gains to where you're not going to hit big stalls. You have to change the progression. And if you're using a reverse pyramid system, it's only going to work so long before you have to periodize it in order to see continual progression at a decent rate. Not saying you can't progress indefinitely this way, you can, but it's going to go slower, and if the progress goes slower, you're going to gain less muscle and strength. So the issue is that while reverse pyramid training can be very, very effective for people with less time to train, who really want to get an efficient, quick workout in, you run into the issue of it is a type of program that will stall on you. And that training style, it will stall on you doing it that way, and your gains are going to slow down dramatically or come to a screeching halt. So that's the downside of it, as opposed to using a proper periodization program to where you're rotating through different rep ranges and work parameters to keep your body adapting so that you can keep progressing. So that's really the downside of it in general compared to anything else. It's not something you can do long-term indefinitely. Once you start getting fairly advanced, it's going to have problems with it where you're going to need to periodize, which might be fine for someone who's very casual, who's not expecting rapid gains. But if you've got very serious goals, that's going to be your downside to it. All right, next question. Hey Jason, I can't stand to keep my shoulder blades together when unracking the bar on the bench press. What can I do to fix this? It is not for lack of trying to squeeze my shoulders till they hurt, and my back is usually sore after benching. Let me give you 2 tips. A lot of guys who can't keep the shoulder blades together when they're unracking, because you're unracking from all the way up here. When you unrack, the bar should be pretty well over your throat. All right, you need to be set up all the way under the bar so that you can keep the shoulder blades back. You can pull it out, bring it to the lower chest, and come down. If you're moving the bar 10 or 12 inches from where you unrack to where you lower it, of course you're going to have that problem. You need to get set under the bar. In fact, if you're set under the bar correctly to unrack the bench, it's hard to use a spotter correctly because he's going to have to spread his legs and he's pretty much going to be teabagging you. And if that's what's happening when someone's trying to do a normal spot for you instead of letting you lift off and then come in, and only using help for the lift off if you're doing side spotters, is that if you're a straight guy, it's going to get very frustrating for you because the guy's balls are going to be pretty much in your mouth. So that should give you an idea of how far you need to be set under. That bar should be above your throat on the J-hooks when you unrack it and you come down to here. So that's part of your reason. The other thing is you're probably not getting your scapula pulled up enough. When you set back, see what I just did? I didn't come down here, I came up here. And you're pinching them together a bit at the top so that you can get set on your traps. And your traps are what touch the bench, not your lats. Your traps and your glutes are what make contact with the bench, not your latissimus dorsi. So you get those pulled up together tight. And also if you do that, that'll help a lot too, because the unracking motion, because you're already up like that, will be a bit easier for you without pulling those shoulder blades apart. So it's just a matter of that and getting the bar height set correctly. So that's probably the 2 things you're doing wrong. Alright guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 4.